Hello and welcome back everyone. Today I am looking back at a movie tie-in that was released for the Mega Drive and was met with mixed opinions. Dick Tracy was a game based on the Warren Beatty movie and featured some of the main villains from the film. But the game also featured some material that was obviously heavily influenced from the original 1930s comic strip. Dick Tracy, released in February 1991 for the Sega Mega Drive, was a side-scrolling arcade video game where players control the famous hero through various stages to bring down Big Boy. Tracy can walk, jump, duck, shoot a pistol and use a Tommy gun to hit enemies and objects in the background. Each level has a series of sub-levels to it, and bonus points are awarded if the players can avoid hitting any of the various objects in the background. Some of the levels switch the action up slightly by having you control Tracy during a police chase, and this level is actually quite comical, as some of the cars seem to be these clown cars, and they must hold about 20 or 30 different hoods, because they just keep appearing constantly. Several of the villains from the comic book also appear in various other stages, and the final battle with Big Boy takes place in a scene similar to the climax of the feature film. The game did have this high value production feel to it. The presentation and the visuals were excellent, especially on Tracy himself, as this was some of the best animation seen on the Mega Drive at the time. The purposeful yet bouncy strut and the bright yellow overcoat certainly made this sprite stand out. The enemy sprites, however, were a little wooden in their movements, but still not too shabby. The backgrounds were pretty decent, but don't worry if you didn't have time to take them in, as this is a game that seems to recycle backgrounds quite a lot, and many levels look the same. The bonus stage shootout looks excellent in my opinion. Only the gun and a hand are animated, but the Dick Tracy character looks huge, and the bonus feature was always a good way to rack up extra points and break up the monotony of the play, which I will talk more about later. The comic style cutscene presentations looked great and helped connect parts of the story together, but it also helped keep with the original source material. But for some, Dick Tracy was a movie and not a comic, and so the presentation was not always appreciated by all. The sound is a little flat in my opinion. The tunes don't sound that good, and like the backgrounds, these are repeated an awful lot. But I don't mind the sounds of the Tommy guns and the breaking glass, as these sound pretty good. But overall, the sound is a little lacking in my opinion. The playability is another mixed bag. At first glance it looks pretty good, and when you play it for the first time it's actually a good game, but as the game progresses it somehow becomes boring. Each level is pretty much laid out the same. A 2D environment with a 3D plane, a simple 2D scroller and then a boss confrontation, and the only thing to break it up are the pseudo car chase scenes which seem to go on and on. The lack of variety means there is no real replay value, as the whole thing seems like a slog. If the game had been a little shorter and more arcade in playstyle, then it would have been a great game, but with the average playtime of about 40 minutes, it certainly was a long Mega Drive game. I guess Sega were opting for value for money, and if I recall, this was one of the first Mega Drive games that was priced at $39.99. Most other titles were $29.99, $34.99, or in the case of Strider and Ghouls and Ghosts, $44.99. I did try this game in March 1991 in Computer Genius in Paisley, and I did enjoy the brief 5 minutes on it. I can't say I was bowled over by it, but I thought it was okay, and I did consider maybe doing a part exchange for it if the price was right, which it wasn't. But only a few months later, the local video shop had started renting out Mega Drive games, £1.50 for 3 days, and so I picked it up then. Initially, I really enjoyed it, and had some regrets kicking in that I didn't pick it up at Computer Genius. But by the second day, I was already bored with it. The lack of variety, the repetition of the backgrounds and tunes, it all just made for a depressing experience, and not an enjoyable blast through the unknown streets of some crime-riddled city. And by the end of the 3 days, I was glad to return it. I did enjoy playing it back for this video, however, for about 5 minutes. And while I remember the game as being easy, it certainly wasn't easy this time around. The end of level bosses take an absolute age to beat. Each gunshot takes a little sliver off from the life bar, and it's not how I remember it at all. But I did remember the fluid animation and bright yellow overcoat for some reason. That certainly made a lasting impression, that's for sure. And something else that kept cropping up in my mind when playing it recently, and this is completely out of left field here. It was the song Ballad of Chasey Lane by Bloodhound Gang. I kept singing that line. You know the one. You've had a lot of Dick Tracy, but you ain't had mine. A line that makes no sense, but once you start singing it, it's hard to replace it with the original. There were obviously some flaws with the game, even if you look at other Sega games like eSWAT or Revenge of Shinobi. These are games that are also very repetitive, but yet never felt boring or dull or tiresome to play. So what was it with Dick Tracy that made it so dull? The Mega Drive version of the game was developed by Sega Technical Institute as their first game, and Sega gave STI 5 months to complete development. While STI still only had 2 employees on staff, Mark Cherney and Shinobi developer Yutaka Sugano, and the sprite work was developed by Takashi Doi, but the game was programmed in the States, and this kind of work split across the Pacific would only have caused delays and other issues. Another issue was the timing of the game. The Mega Drive came out about 9 months after the movie's release in cinemas, and a few months after the home video release. But this did prompt Sega to get more involved in movie tie-ins at a far earlier stage for future developments, so some good did come out of it. For me, Dick Tracy was an average game, and a game that never felt rushed, but maybe just a little under-resourced, and the backroom politics or situations really did get in the way of a better game. But if you have 5 minutes, please do give it a go and see for yourself. And that was my look back at Dick Tracy on the Mega Drive. If you liked the video, then please do all the usual like, comment, subscribe malarkey, and as always, a massive thank you from me to all those who have subscribed and commented on my videos. Your feedback and support really does go a long way in helping the channel grow, and I do appreciate all of you. So thank you from me. And that's all from me, folks. Thanks for watching.